Hey guys, we have a fantastic video today. I'm going to be showing you guys an article from NPR involving Florida governor replacing Broward Sheriff County for citing, or the reason given, citing his incompetence. And we're going to go a little bit into the evidence as far as why this occurred. We're going to get into the nitty gritties of the report, and we're going to be looking at some of the past instances that led up to this. And we'll watch a little bit of agitating video. So hang in there. We'll get through the article, and I think you'll find this interesting. So, Florida governor replaces Broward sheriff, citing his incompetence. After nearly a year of scrutiny, the embattled Florida sheriff, whose deputies were first to respond to the shooting of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, was suspended on Friday. Governor Ron DeSantis announced Broward Sheriff Scott Israel has been replaced by former Coral Springs Police Sergeant Gregory Toney. Now, I want you to remember this right here, the Coral Springs Police Department Sergeant Gregory Toney. This is going to be important later when we talk about policy and we get into the report. Who has extensive background in active shooter training. Sheriff Israel has repeatedly failed and has demonstrated a pattern of poor leadership, DeSantis said in his statement. He failed to protect Floridans and visitors during the tragic Fort Lauderdale International Airport shooting in 2017. He failed in his duties to keep our families and children safe during the devastating shooting in Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in 2018. These incidents demonstrate Sheriff Israel's repeated incompetence and neglect of duty, DeSantis continued. For these reasons, I am suspending Sheriff Israel from office effective immediately, he wrote. In a separate statement introduced Tuesday, DeSantis added, "The people of Broward County deserve accountable, competent leaders who can safeguard our communities. It is my intention to embark on this enormous task to restore the confidence of families and residents of Broward County towards the Broward Sheriff's Office, which also requires that I fix problems that exist," Toney said in a statement. He just nailed down the hammer right off the bat coming into the office. Israel plans to contest the suspension, according to the Associated Press and Florida Senate, would make the final decision. "There was no wrongdoing on my part. I served the county honorably," Israel said Friday. Remember that line. You'll hear it again in a minute here when we go back and review footage from right after the Parkland shooting. Israel was reelected in 2016 and would have remained in the position through 2020. The Sun-Sentinel reports Toney left the Coral Springs Police Department after 12 years in 2016. Toney now has his own company, Blue Spear Solutions, which specializes in active shooter training and provides threat assessment on schools and other businesses. Israel has been the target of public outrage for his department's handling of the Valentine's Day shooting last year, in which 17 students and teachers were killed by a former student. Israel's removal from the helm of the agency has been expected since the new governor was sworn in. While campaigning, DeSantis said he would have dismissed Israel for his role in the deadly shooting. Earlier this month, a state-appointed public safety commission investigating the high school massacre and law enforcement's response issued a scathing report that was critical of Israel and the department. Among several damning conclusions, the report found that the deputy assigned to the school, Scott Peterson, failed to act consistently with his training and fled to the position of personal safety during the shooting. Additionally, several more Broward deputies responding to the incident were slow to enter the building where students and teachers were being shot. This is also important once we get into the report. Israel was singled out for a poorly timed change in policy allowing the sheriffs to choose whether or not to enter the building where an active shooter, where previously they were trained to enter. In other words, they could choose to enter, whereas previously they were mandated to enter. According to the panel, that created confusion and led to inaction by 8 deputies responding to the high school shooter. The commission also accused some sheriff's deputies who responded to the campus of providing testimony that contradicted evidence captured on surveillance footage on the day of the shooting. Don't you just hate those surveillance cameras? The report claimed Broward sheriffs, as well as the FBI, neglected to follow up on tips regarding the shooter and the danger he posed to students and faculty months before the attack. And some of the footage evidence we've seen, there are as many as 26 pieces of evidence that should have sent clear red flags to the department to prevent this from happening. But Israel has consistently defended his deputies and his role in the tragic events, resisting repeated calls for his resignation. In a letter to then Governor Rick Scott, dated February 24, 2018, he explained that Coral Springs Police Department officers were the first to enter the school because the department had received the initial 911 call and were dispatched to the scene knowing it was an active shooter incident before the call was ever transferred to regional communications for dispatch for BSO. Israel has launched investigations into Peterson's actions on the day of the shooting and the allegations that other deputies failed to confront the shooter. I've given amazing leadership to this agency, Israel said on CNN weeks after the shooting. You don't measure a Pearson's leadership by a deputy not going into he added, trailing off. The following month, the Broward Sheriff's Office Deputies Association took a large symbolic vote of no confidence against Israel, leading union president Jeff Bell to subsequently ask Governor Scott to remove or suspend the sheriff. He fails to listen to people, Bell said of Israel, according to CNN. He fails to listen to the membership, and he wants to blame everybody else for his problems. Under Florida law, the governor can suspend the elected officials for criminal activity, malfeasance, incompetence, or negligence of duty. And I just want to show you guys a clip of the sheriff and his response to the CNN footage, because it is astounding lack of awareness and accountability.
Are you really not taking any responsibility for the multiple red flags that were brought to the attention of the Broward Sheriff's Office about this shooter before the incident, whether it was people near him, close to him, calling the police on him?
Jake, I could only take responsibility for what I knew about. I exercised my due diligence. I've given amazing leadership to this agency.
Amazing leadership?
I've worked... Yes, Jake. There's a lot of things we've done throughout this. This is you don't measure a person's leadership by a deputy not going into these deputies received the training they needed.
Maybe you measure somebody's leadership by whether or not they protect the community. In this case, you've listed 23 incidents before the shooting involving the shooter, and still nothing was done to keep guns out of his hands, to make sure that the school was protected, to make sure you were keeping an eye on him. Your deputy at the school failed. I don't understand how you can sit there and claim amazing leadership.
Damn. That is a sick burn. I almost sympathize for the guy as far as like the position that he's in and the fury that is raging against him, but he does himself no favors when he comes out like this, denying any responsibility, involvement in it, and blaming other people for the actions of his department. And if, in case you feel any sort of remaining sympathy for this gentleman, let me just show you the commissioned report and what they found involving this, and that change of the policy that is mentioned in the article. So this is the commissioned report compiled concerning the Parkland shooting. It's about 470 pages. I'm not all the way through it. I've read a good deal of it, and Israel comes up about 7 times in here concerning his involvement in it. And let me just show you the part that I'm looking at here. So Israel's sheriff inserted the word may in the BSO policy, and it's insufficiently fails to unequivocally convey the expectation that deputies are expected to immediately enter an active assailant scene where gunfire is active and to neutralize the threat. And the use of the word may in the BSO policy is inconsistent with the current standard of law enforcement practices. Now, why do they say that? So if you look at this right here, they're comparing the Coral Springs Police Department active shooter policy to the BSO active shooter police department policy. And one of the things that they found was a significant difference between the two policies in 2 small words. BSO states that deputies may pursue the threat, while CSPD policy states officers shall pursue the threat. In his testimony to the commission, Sheriff Israel defended the use of the word may, stating that he wanted his deputies to exercise discretion and did not want them engaging in suicide missions. Now, the findings here that I had just read indicate that he was the one who inserted that word may into the BSO policy. No other police department that I am aware of has that sort of verbiage or wording in there. Additionally, he made this change after the 2017 shooting that had occurred while he was sheriff. So essentially, he had a shooting that occurred at the airport, And then he made a change in the policy that led to the officers, 8 of them, hesitating to go into and encounter the shooter, resulting in 17 people dying. And in between those, he made a change to the policy, leading to that hesitation on the officer's part to wait before going in for clarification on whether or not they should. Yeah. So that's just astounding to me that, a report like that can come out and it would still take, a month to dismiss him like that. But again, it was a new governor that came in that made that decision. Why the former governor would choose to leave him in place, I cannot imagine. I'm, guessing it had something to do with his re-election chances. But my God, the incompetence is staggering. One more thing I want to show you. This was a clipped interview with Jake Tapper and MSNBC that Scott Israel did, and just listen to his explanation and reasoning. This relates to a hypothetical question involving arresting people related to media posts on Facebook.
If the way that you could detain someone against their will is that they're posting things on Instagram like this individual did of their arsenal, I mean, there's literally millions of people in America doing that. Posting lots of pictures of your guns or posting pictures of yourself holding a weapon or holding knives, that's not that uncommon in this country. We're talking about lots and lots of people, right?
Right, and I expounded upon that a little bit. I'm talking about being around bombs, possibly talking about I want to be a serial killer,
right.
Talking about taking people's lives, just taking a picture with a gun or a knife or a weapon. That in and of itself is clearly not even remotely something that we're concerned about. But when you take a totality of pictures and statements and verbiage that a subject is writing or posting, and you have a reasonable suspicion that this person might be a danger to children, to society, I think we have an obligation as lawmakers to change those laws so we could do something about it. To do the same old thing over and over again, what the poet described that as insanity. We need to do things differently. We need to stand up as lawmakers. We need to give police.
We need to do things differently. That worked out so great in Parkland. This whole story it disgusts me at the fact that these are the individuals who demand their trust and loyalty of citizenship to govern and to quote unquote protect, and not even getting into the entire debacle of his stance on gun control and advocating for it in this crisis. These are the individuals who make these demands. And yet this is the kind of incompetence and reasoning that we are met with on the other end of that is the safeguard to giving up your weapons in order for them to protect you. I don't know, guys. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good one. Tell me what you think. If you think that Scott Israel is being unjustly treated anyway, I'd love to hear that argument or that reasoning. And, if you have any other details or points of interest on this story, let me know. I'd love to hear them. I'm out of here, guys. You guys take care.